The Territory and federal governments this week moved to buy out 3 liquor licences in Alice Springs to reduce alcohol-related harm in the town. The People's Alcohol Action Coalition has welcomed the move, but says it will be largely symbolic. I spoke to Dr John Boffa from the coalition earlier. Dr John Boffa, welcome to Stateline.
Good evening.
Do you think the buyback of the liquor licences from BP Gap, Hoppy's store and Heavy Tree Gap store will make any difference to alcohol consumption in Alice Springs?
Well, look, we don't think it'll have any immediate impact, but we think it's an important symbolic move because it's making it really clear to the community, particularly young people, that alcohol is no ordinary commodity. It's not a substance that should be sold with bread and milk and petrol for your car, and in some ways it's really important that the way we sell alcohol makes that message clear. It's no good spending enormous amounts of money on TV ads and posters and various other things telling young people that alcohol is potentially a harmful drug of addiction if the way we sell it contradicts that message. So we think it's an important move from that point of view, but nobody should be under any illusions that it's going to have any immediate impact on reducing consumption or harm. The impact is going to be, I think, to the medium longer term, and it's about changing the drinking culture in the Northern Territory.
Well, this is part of the Alice Springs Alcohol Management Plan introduced in 2006. Do you think the plan has made any difference to problem drinking in Alice Springs?
Well, it clearly has. The plan's a comprehensive range of measures, of which this is just one part. It also includes the very successful supply reduction measures that we've had in place since October 1, 2006, which has seen an 18% drop in the consumption of pure alcohol. And along with that, we've seen a very welcome reduction in harm, a big decline in homicides and manslaughters. Serious harm has declined by 20% or more. Admissions for assaults and various other things have gone down. So we have seen an improvement, and the town's started to turn the corner. Having said that, there's still major problems with alcohol in this town. There's still major harm. So we can't sit back and stop. We need to progress with more effective policies. And, of course, the most effective thing we need to do is to implement a floor price on alcohol at around $1 a standard drink, the price of beer. But we also need to have, I think, one day a week where there are no takeaway sales linked to Centrelink payments. Those two measures would, I think, see consumption fall by a further 10 or 15%.
Could you just give us a little bit of an idea of how floor price would work?
A floor price basically says the major harm that's being caused by alcohol is due to cheap grog, cheap bulk grog. The cheap grog, when Woolworths a few weeks ago was selling clean skins at $1.99 a bottle, the alcohol, the pure alcohol in that's 25 cents a standard drink. When they're sold at $3.99 a bottle, as Coles was doing a few weeks ago as well, that's 50 cents a standard drink. Beer sells for about $1.10, $1.20 a standard drink. So the harm comes from the cheapness of the alcohol, whatever type of alcohol it is. A floor price simply works by saying alcohol can't be sold below a minimum price, and that minimum price we think should be the price of beer. And then you wouldn't be able to sell alcohol at 25, 30 cents, 50 cents a standard drink. You'd be selling it around $1, $1.10 a standard drink. That's what we've actually done in Alice Springs between 2 and 6 o'clock, and we can see how effective it's been in shifting people to beer away from the cheap 4 and 5 litre casks that people used to buy. That's why we reduced the consumption of pure alcohol, and as a consequence we've prevented homicides, we've prevented suicides, we've prevented, I'd say, almost up to 300 hospital admissions a year for assault. So we've had an impact by doing that, but we can have a bigger impact by doing it across the whole day and making sure there are no means to undermine that through the selling of clean skins at $1.99 and $3.99, which is a major problem to the floor price mechanism.
So how much more would people have to pay for a bottle of wine or a case of beer if a floor price was introduced?
If a floor price was introduced, they'd pay no more for a case of beer. It wouldn't affect that. A bottle of red would come in at around $8. You wouldn't be able to sell it less than $8. And a bottle of white would come in around $6.50. You wouldn't be able to sell it less than that. But as I just said to you, wine's been sold at less than the price of a can of beer. $1.99 for a bottle of red wouldn't be allowed. The minimum price would be around $8 if the floor price was $1. If it was $1.10, $1.20, it'd be a bit more than that. So we're talking about, for the majority of people, for the majority of responsible drinkers, a floor price isn't really going to affect their purchasing. But the heaviest drinkers gravitate towards the cheapest products. Everyone knows that. They get drunk on the cheap grog. By removing that cheap grog, you have a really significant and differential impact on the heaviest drinkers and on young people. They're the most price-sensitive drinkers in the community, and they're particularly the drinkers that are targeted by the floor price mechanism.
Town Camp representatives say they'd like to see more money spent on rehabilitation services in remote communities rather than on buying back liquor licences. Do you agree with that?
We do need to reduce supply. Part of reducing supply is around buying back licences from particular types of outlets that are very problematic. So petrol stations, corner stores selling bread and milk. Nowhere else in the country has those sorts of outlets selling takeaway alcohol, and under the new Liquor Act it wouldn't be allowed now. So that's part of what's needed, but that in no way means that we shouldn't be providing effective alcohol treatment and rehabilitation services.
Dr. John Boffa, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.